definitely when I was younger and I didn't have as much of an understanding of the industry, I definitely would be like, oh, you know, come on, like getting impatient. But there is no such thing as an overnight success. It's just because you haven't seen the 10, 15 years before. You look at Sabrina Carpenter, she's just blown up, but you know, she released her first album 10, 15 years ago. It's good to have that balance, like, you know, people you really connect with outside of the work.
Yeah, and I can imagine that translates onto stage too. Like if you're like, this person's a dick, you know, like when you got onto stage with them, it would probably be harder to find that chemistry, but being so comfortable and happy with one another must translate well onto the stage.
It's funny because you hear about people who, like the old Top Gear guys are a classic example. They always say in interviews that they actually don't ever talk to each other outside of when they're doing the show.
Mythbusters was the same.
Yeah,
the two main guys from Mythbusters.
Yeah, and it just feel like, you know, Eamon and I don't get along, but that's a different story. No, but like if we didn't get along, this would be such a hard gig. Just, be mindful. Don't know why it happens every time. It'll just slowly start to drop from the weight.
It's the heaviness of it.
Yeah.
So
that's
maybe
right.
if I spot it, I can just go
it's fine.
work to correct it.
That's all right.
Wouldn't be the first time it's happened in an interview. So.
No.
It's happened to me before too. It's all good.
Yeah.
There was one time I was like playing the piano on stage and the mic stand was like dodgy or something because the mic wasn't even that heavy, but it just went all the way down and I was just like going down with it. By the end I was like that.
I can't remember that, like with the crowd watching is gnarly.
Yeah, it was funny.
It's funny, yeah.
Yeah, I think if it was like one of the first times performing, you'd be traumatized, but
yeah. No, we I don't know who was interviewing, so it was, you know, no crowd there. We just found it funny, but it was, I can't remember who it was, and they were just sinking,
slowly
sinking, and then like at one point I was like, okay, hang on a second, I'll just fix that for you because they just slouched so far down. It's funny.
It happened to me the first time. I sat exactly where you are. We were speaking to Jack when he first opened these studios, and we were sat on the couch there. And same thing, I just chatting. I noticed, hang on, my mic's like a lot lower than it was.
So Jack runs.
Jack Negro, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I didn't actually know he existed.
We get that a little bit.
We do,
which is nice that we're helping, you know, you find another studio on the coast. And
I suppose, we spoke to him not long ago for a catch up, and he's had a really good first year. But it's funny because it's like, so many artists on the coast are like, oh, here we go. But I suppose it's only a year old, so it's going to take a while for people to realise that it exists. Yeah, but so far so good for Sonora by the sounds of it.
Where do you normally record at?
My producer lives in Tasmania.
Oh, wow.
And then it goes over to Nashville to have all the extra stuff put on, and then it goes Shane Nicholson, who lives here, I do my vocals with him, and then it goes back to Nashville. So it's kind of a big
interesting.
Yeah.
So how does that process? So you've got a Tasmanian producer, and then how does it working together go? Obviously, you're not going to Tassie for every song, so that I imagine.
Yeah. If in the future when I do an album and stuff, I'll just go there. But with my singles, I pretty much just send him like the demo I make at home, and then he does all the instrumentation, gets it to where, you know, and just sends it back and forth, and we just send notes via email. And then he'll send it to Nashville where they'll put on like pedal steel or the banjos, all that. And then
country it up.
Yeah, and then Shane will then record my vocals because he's in Gosford.
Wow. So I'm interested in why the Tasmanian producer doesn't feel confident enough to add, well, that's projecting, not to suggest he doesn't feel confident enough, but why the process is to send it to Nashville for that specifically to happen when you would think maybe there's someone around that could record similar banjo, or is it just such a specific sound?
It's such a specific sound. He could, I'm sure he's done it a million times, but just the sound we're looking at, we've just got a really great person over there who does it, and it works so well.
Wow.
The drums get recorded in Australia, but yeah, the pedal steel, there's not many people who play pedal steel, and to get it to such a specific sound, you're not like not anyone can just do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's there's one guy who has made his whole living from playing pedal steel because it's that needed in the country scene, and there's just not enough of it.
And for listeners and myself, what is a pedal steel?
The exact same question.
Pedal steel is like, think of it kind of like a piano. It's like a guitar on a piano, and then you've got all these different pedals on the bottom, and it's like a slide guitar in a piano.
Okay.
That's the best way I can explain it.
So
I'm going to look up a photo because I have a laptop
can you
in front
put,
of me.
so it's a guitar, but laid out like a piano
Pretty much.
with strings and frets and all that, but you play it like
I'm
this?
not sure about the frets. I just know there's
Okay.
lots of pedals on the bottom.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, there's just like...
Wow.
That does sound very specific and something hard to master.
It is, yeah, like Matt, who does all my producing in Tasmania, I have never met someone who is such a genius.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Oh, that's... Okay,
See, and that's also not an instrument you're just going to have,
Yes,
is it?
that
you know?
makes- yes.
Yeah, so now you know what it is, you know what I mean?
So what I'm looking at is 2 necks of a guitar, presumably 12 strings, and
10.
10,
10 on each.
5 on each, 10 on each.
Yes, 10 per neck on this particular model.
Okay, so there's 20 strings total, frets like a normal guitar neck, and then there's, 10 pedals for the feet, and it's, on like, I guess, an old type of organ type stand table thing.
Yeah, so like...
Look it up because my description's not
hard
very
to
good.
explain, isn't it? But yeah, like I guess Matt who's my producer in Tasmania is the most like he's a genius. I can't even describe it. Like he's putting, if you separate each track on a song, there's hundreds there. But then you have people over in Nashville that literally make a living from playing the pedal steel or like a specific banjo part on a song. It's crazy.
Interesting. Yeah, because I wasn't trying to throw shade to Matt. I was just like, why does it need to go over there for that particular instrument? But I suppose that speaks to the significance of Nashville as a place for country music and also the specificness of country music in terms of, no, these notes and these sounds need to be particularly hit this way or in this way. And you as an artist have expectations. So you're sending it right over to Nashville to have those fulfilled.
Yeah, well, they're all people I met like through Matt, 'cause I didn't even, like when I first started, I didn't really know, how the process worked and stuff like that. But I know of a couple people that, heard drums in a specific song and some very, very well-known songs, and then they paid, to have this like famous drummer play on their songs. Like it's really like you just pull people from everywhere. It's crazy.
It is funny how specific sounds are too. Like when we were at Damien Gerard Studios and Marshall was giving us a tour, and they've got audio equipment from the 60s through to now. And a lot of it goes, if you want a specific drum sound, like you want a rockier sound, we'll bring out this set. If you want more of a softer sound, it's this set. And same with the guitars and amps as well. If you want this sounding amp, or this sounding guitar, you use this amp as opposed to that amp. And it's like, I would have just assumed more or less drums, amps and guitars all would have made a similar sound and all the changes were done in post-production, but it's actually so important to record it on the right equipment to begin with.
Yeah, I think in country music especially, like it's very specific, and also these things, because they're, lots of them, like the pedal steel, for example, has a big feature part in my upcoming song. So it's kind of almost got to have the same work into it as like what vocals do. Like the vocals took 13 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, me and Shane recorded for 13 hours.
Straight?
Over 2 days.
I was going to say, like even still, how's the fatigue? How do you manage fatigue? So it's so funny because this whole conversation, Cam's like, I would have thought that, that would have just done that. And I'm going, why is this? We present this podcast from such a position of musical ignorance. So I hope that those listening, because we do have musicians listen, I hope the musicians don't just bang their head against the wall or steering wheel when they're listening to us. And I hope those who aren't musicians share our questions, or we're just completely ignorant. But my question is, how do you manage fatigue over such long sessions like that? Particularly because you're using such a sensitive part of your body as your voice, and even just the mental side of it. Over 2 days, it's still 6.5 hours each session, assuming it was split in half.
Yeah, I think we did about 9 and 4 maybe, because it's always good to just get it done within that one day because your voice is always changing. Like some days you can have bad vocal days, good vocal days, or it sounds slightly different in its tone just because, it's like, it's just a body part, isn't it, really, like everything?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is tiring, definitely. I just drink probably like 10 litres of water. That's kind of tea, all that kind of stuff, that kind of helps. And a week before I kind of, lay off the alcohol and do all those things.
Reduce the dairy.
Yes.
The dairy gets caught in your throat.
Well, I'm dairy free anyway, so I don't know that life, but and gluten free, the joys.
Not by choice, by the sounds of things.
No, not by choice.
That'd be tough. Like, I mean, it's getting better now, obviously, with the gluten free and dairy free alternatives, but just, it'd be not fun.
It's not fun.
Yeah.
No.
Because milk's easy to avoid. Like, you can avoid milk. There's plenty of alternatives. But then it's when you start getting into your chocolates and your cheeses.
Oh, and
that becomes very difficult.
Chocolate is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you think of like milk in just any product. Like milk is in a lot of things. So, it's all that kind of stuff too. And then some things are dairy free, but they're not gluten free. Then you got to get both. And yeah, anyway, that's a story for another day.
Wicked. Well, Ella Powell, thank you for coming in. We haven't actually formally introduced you, and this is an introduction for us as well. We've never actually had the privilege to sit down and have a chat to you. We've known, obviously, of you for a while. We played your music back on the radio days and all of that. But, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we say this a lot when we have artists in, but I suppose that's the case in the coast. We know about them for a while until we meet them. But for you, I feel like you've been homebrewed adjacent for a long time, but we haven't ever done the proper interview thing.
Yeah, well, I was 11 when I first started, so I've been going for 9 years now, and I released my first single, I was probably 14, 15, and then got into the country world about 17. So, yeah, I've been doing it for a little while. I guess it feels like majority of my life, really. I don't really know any different because I was so young when I started. So, but it's amazing. Like it's my whole life. Yeah.
You're actually a pro at this because my first question was going to be, as this is an introduction, tell us a little bit how you got started into music, and you've already outlined it there without me having to prompt the question. So you're a professional at this. So into music at 11.
Started gigging at 11. So I actually started playing the guitar when I was 6.
Yep.
But I think my fingers were just too small and I was getting so frustrated. Like I was throwing tantrums left, right and centre. That poor guitar teacher.
Yeah, because even I had a 3/4 length when I was 12, but that's still like 6 years of growth.
Yeah,
as
I have a 3/4
later.
one now.
Do you actually?
Yeah. The big ones just aren't comfortable. And I started off, I think it was probably, a decent sized one. And then I was like, I'm never doing this again. I hate it. And then when I was 10, my dad's a teacher, and the music teacher from his school, who we're good family friends with, was like, oh, come on, I'll show you a couple chords. Just pick it back up. You never know. Like it will add an extra dimension to your singing, because I was singing since I was 7 or 8. And then I guess the rest is history. I actually kind of was like, oh, I can do this now. I loved it.
Wow, so
from there.
A 3/4 guitar is a bit like lactose-free cheese. Like they're just, it's hard to find, or it's like a specific brand and type.
Yeah.
Like options are far more limited to get like a proper like 3/4 length guitar that's not a cheap nylon string starter pack.
Yeah, well, I've got a Maton, and I've had it since I was probably about 12. And everyone's like, oh, you're going to get another guitar soon? I'm like, no, they age beautifully. Like you can tell it's been around for a while, but it's
I imagine that makes gigging harder too. You can't forget it and rock up and then be like, I'll just borrow your guitar.
Oh, see, I can. Like I've used other guitars, but it's just not as like nice, when it's not your own and it's not what you're used to, I guess.
Yeah, and when you spend so much time playing it, I can imagine you want it to be comfortable and all of those things around it as well.
Oh, yeah.
So in terms of your musical journey, so you started playing at 6, you started gigging at 11, which feels incredibly young to be starting to gig. But I suppose, you see kids out doing that. How was that? And then you mentioned that you got into country a little bit later on. So where were you before country?
Yeah, see, I forgot to mention, actually, I started off in musical theatre. So did a whole bunch of shows. I was like Wendy and Peter Pan and Jane and Mary Poppins and all that when I was, around 9 or 10. And then I got into the gigging when I was 11. And I think for those couple years, I just didn't really know. Like, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was writing songs, but I knew I didn't want to be in that traditional country. Like, I couldn't see myself there, and that was all I knew at the time. And I tried to write songs more in the pop field, but it didn't really work. It just wasn't my vibe. So I think I spent those years just writing and learning, mastering like that, the lyrics and stuff, which, still got a long way to go. There's still so much to learn, but those years were kind of crucial for that. And then when I was 14, 15, Dad was like, let's go to the Tamworth Country Music Festival. Like, let's just go busk. Let's, just see what happens. And it was the funnest week. And I ended up winning People's Choice Award there, which kind of helped me really to get to where I am and kind of pushed me more into that country area. And I discovered, the country pop sound, all these more younger artists are kind of doing now. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is cool. And here I am.
Wow.
That's that really.
And having done it, so if my maths are correct, you're 20?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Good math.
Yes. Having done it for, in a gigging capacity for 9 years now, music's been a part of your life for longer. And does it feel to you like you've been doing this for ages because you have? Whereas if someone was to look at a 20-year-old musician, they'd say you're just at the beginning. How do you feel with that kind of dynamic? Yeah,
it's weird, especially because country music, there's not as much of a rush, whereas you look at other genres, it's very still that, I guess, stereotypical idea of you've got to be young to do it, that pop world and all that kind of stuff. So, a lot of people do look and go, oh, wow, you're just a baby. But I feel like so old because I've been doing this for so long. But it's cool because I can definitely see the growth from when I was, younger, and I've definitely matured, and it's kind of just come with me along the way. So, yeah, it is a weird one, definitely.
Yeah. And of course you're building life experience as we all are, as the years go by, and that feeds into your music as well.
It helps with songwriting, definitely. I think my songwriting's definitely getting better and better, and I'm listening to so much more music than what I probably would have done when I was 15. I'm actually listening to a wider range, not just what I like, and I think that really helps with songwriting too. So just being, I guess, just that more mature approach.
So take me back to when you were doing theatre. Was that local productions, or were you sort of part of bigger Sydney productions?
I had a couple of auditions in Sydney, but mainly Gosford Musical Society, and it was awesome. It gave me the confidence, definitely the stage presence, all those things. Because before that, I never would have been able to just talk, especially in gigs. When I was 11 and 12, I was terrified of talking at gigs. I said some really random things. You did not want a microphone in front of me unless it was just singing. But I think theatre gave me that confidence to just express yourself in that way, I guess. And I did enjoy it, but I kind of just realised after a couple of years it just wasn't what I wanted to do.
Yeah. So did you always have an idea, though, when you first got your guitar when you were 6? Oh, sorry, you were singing when you were 6, guitar later on, but were you always saying, oh, I'm going to be a performer? And then you've just been trying to nail down what that performance was?
Definitely. I've always known, we were actually looking through some baby videos the other day, or really early childhood. And yeah, I think I was a born performer because it's so embarrassing. But I think from an early age, I kind of knew I wanted to be in this field. I didn't really know where until probably 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, and so, for those who don't know you, how would you describe your sound? So obviously it's within the country realm, but as we're learning more and more, we had Chelsea Berman in not long ago, and we were chatting about how much range there is within that genre, and then also how some areas of it can seem gatekept, and then other people barge in unwanted as well and make songs that maybe don't respect the genre enough. So where do you position yourself on the spectrum there?
Yeah, so I'm kind of a blend of country, pop and folk. So like I'm kind of really, I'd say, right in the middle between the country and the pop, but I kind of enjoy experimenting. Like sometimes some of my songs have a bit more of a pop vibe, like Along the Way, for example.
Wanna get lost in another city, live like we're in a movie, forget mistakes I've made. Along the way.
Whereas like Behind the Glass is definitely down more of the country.
Behind the glass, behind the walls, took some mistakes to build this tall. Behind the smile, the act, you've seen nothing at all.
You know, you've got a line and you kind of can pick sort of each song, as long as you stay within the, you know, the same sort of realm, you can kind of experiment with different sounds within it. Definitely Taylor Swift is probably my biggest influence, that kind of vibe. And you know what I mean, how some songs are so pop and then others are like, you know, all raw organic instruments, really raw storytelling. Like she experiments along that line as well.
And that, I think that's been something that I think she gets a decent amount of credit for, but maybe it's not recognised enough about just her talents going from starting at super country, going into pop, and then, yeah, like Folklore Evermore was very folky and soft and sort of more character-driven storytelling throughout those albums as opposed to more personal experience as well. Like just, yeah, her diversity and range.
Oh, she's she's a genius. Yeah, and I think especially with Crossroads, like my EP I released a couple months ago, The End of the Beginning was, you know, the end of the beginning to mark sort of a new sound. And I think I really drew from, the artists I really like listening to, especially Taylor Swift, to make, you know, the verses and stuff more conversational as well. Like I just wanted to bring in a bit more of the, you know, you don't have to sing everything. You know what I mean?
I think the first time, it might not have been the first time, but like thinking back, like Ed Sheeran might have been one of the first who was, he's a singer-songwriter with a guitar, but he's like rapping in the verses. And I'm like, oh, this is different.
I'm not a rapper, I'm a singer with the flow. And I choked and went from sleeping at a subway station to sleeping with a movie star and added to the population. Not my imagination, I don't want to relax. Would it hurt your reputation if I put it on wax? I take it back now. Come on and take it back, love. Come on and take it back for us. Don't you fade into the back, love. No, I'll take it back with the rhythm.
Yeah, and you don't always know what to make of it at the start, but he's made this whole genre within that. Like it's incredible. And yeah, I think I've just really realised that being an artist, you know, obviously you've got to have a good voice and you know, sing well, but it's not just about that. It's, you know, you want to draw people into a story and, you know, all those inflections and all those little things that when I was younger I probably would have just tried to get rid of is something I'm really embracing now. And I think that's definitely something I've drawn from, you know, Taylor Swift and artists like that.
So when did you start writing your own music? I assume at 11 you were doing a lot of cover songs, or were you doing originals at 11?
I released my first song when I was 10.
Wow.
But it's so embarrassing and you'll not find it anywhere, I promise you.
Is there a copy online we can find, or can you flick us something we can attach it into this podcast?
It is deleted.
It'd be so good to just cut in, as you said, I released my first song when I was 10.
Look, if I can actually find it, maybe I'll send you a link, but I deleted it so long ago now. It was, and I even did a little music video for it.
Oh, wow. And that's gone too?
And like
all of it.
Home recorder style music video, or was it a?
I first started off at the Garden Shed Studios, which is at Narara, and it was a family friend, and he was awesome. Like they really helped me get on my feet, and I recorded that there with them, and it was a really cute music video. But yeah, we've grown a lot since then, I'd like to think anyway.
Do you feel that that's given you an advantage? Maybe an advantage isn't the right word to use there, but do you think that's been a leg up for you, having had experience in what it's like to create, release, even record a music video for a song all the way since you were 10 years old? Like in terms of other people starting their career mightn't do that for a while, but you've been gung-ho at it since you were younger. So when we speak of that experience that you've got, 10 years of it, you are only 20, but it's not like you were just banging a guitar at home. You were writing, releasing, playing original music from such a young age. You would have a musical maturity now that is probably beyond your years.
Yeah, look, I don't know whether it's given me a leg up as such, because I think everyone's got, you know, their own timeline. Like, I've been doing some touring with Ash Grunwald, and you look at him and he didn't pick up the guitar until his early 20s, and now he's huge, you know. But I think it's definitely helped with, that musical maturity and kind of maybe helping find my sound a bit earlier than what maybe some other people do. It's definitely helped, I guess, in that way, and also having a bit of a better understanding maybe of how things work at an earlier age, rather than coming in and just being like, here's a song, but what do I do with it? You know what I mean? So probably those early years did help with that, yeah.
Do you ever, you mentioned Ash Grunwald there as an example, who sort of picked it up late and has sort of then blown up. Do you look at people, not him specifically, but people who sort of become an overnight sensation, so to speak, and go, well, hang on, I've been grinding away for 10 years. When's my opportunity going to come? Like, do you ever get in a headspace around that of envy or jealousy, or are you more than happy on the path that you're on? And
yeah, no, that's a great question. I think definitely when I was younger and I didn't have as much of an understanding of the industry, I definitely would be like, oh, you know, come on, like getting impatient. But there is no such thing as an overnight success.
Yeah, and
no such thing.
It was a visual. I used quotation as I said, overnight success.
Exactly. And, you know, but it's just because you haven't seen the 10, 15 years before. You look at Sabrina Carpenter, she's just blown up. But, you know, she released her first album 10, 15 years ago. And so I guess when you actually know a bit more about the industry and how it all works, it helps with that mental space, because you're not just like, oh, you know, why has this happened and not happened for me? Because you've got a bit of a better understanding. But if you asked me that, you know, 5 years ago, then I probably would have said, yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting beast. Ash Grunwald, correct me if I'm wrong, going to be playing at Avoca Beach Picture Theatre very soon. I have a flyer in my house. Or is it? I don't know.
Well, I just played there with him.
Okay, that's
not
just
too long ago.
Just been.
Yeah, it was only a few months ago. Yeah, I think he's back in January, unless that's what you mean.
Maybe that's it. I saw a film there a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, how good is it? It's great there.
It's really lovely. And that was a flyer I was given on the way out, and it's on the fridge at the moment. So that's what triggered that memory.
Well, that's where I shot the content stuff for Crossroads. So all the content I was releasing, it was all shot there. It was so much fun.
Epic.
So good.
It is a lovely venue. It's a relic we have here on the Central Coast. What was it like touring with Ash Grunwald and jumping on that and doing it compared to when you've toured on your own or played your own gigs?
Yeah, I love doing the support shows, and I've done so many of them, especially this year. I've done so much support stuff, and it's so fun because, and it's so good for, you know, an emerging artist, because you've already got, you know, fans there, you know, they're waiting to see someone, and, you know, if you're on that tour, there's some kind of correlation between what you're both doing, and it just opens the door to so many new fans, and it's great and it's fun. Like, Ash was one of the nicest people I've ever met, and we just sat out in the house thing they have out there, had a couple drinks and was just talking. He was giving me heaps of advice, and that's really special. And I think says a lot about the Australian music industry as well, because, you know, that doesn't always happen.
And not uniquely country, but it seems to be widely a country music thing as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I just got back from the Denny Ute Muster, which I had a show there, which was so much fun. And, like, you know, all the artists, we all hung out backstage, just all around the fire, having some drinks. Even like Tyler Hubbard. Like, I was in having a chat to him while he was just, you know, getting ready in Australia, and I was just having a chat to him about my music and what I've been doing and that kind of thing. And it was just so cool. Like, you know, you don't really get that anywhere, I don't think, you know?
Yeah. It does seem from the country artists that we spoken to, that it's such a supportive community, and particularly here in Australia, I guess, because we spoke about this with Chelsea, but it's growing in popularity and eyeballs and reach, and I think people are probably finally realizing what people like yourself and other artists have been trying to tell us for a long time.
I know, that's saying, what's it, Lainey Wilson, country's cool again. It's like, yeah, we were here before, it was cool, guys.
Yeah, we're aware of it. But yeah, maybe because of that, or it's just the nature of the music. I mean, you see similar things with metal as well, which is, you know, people that the music presents in a really kind of intense way, unlike country, but they're always the loveliest people, and country music but people are always the loveliest people as well. How do you feel within the Australian context, and even zoom further in the Central Coast context, operating as an artist with I suppose particularly in this area, fewer peers than you would have if you were in Tamworth, or if you were maybe somewhere more regional in Australia where country has more of a foothold?
Yeah, look, I think it's kind of still the same. Like, it is very supportive. Obviously, you know, there is that, you know, friendly competitive element like everything, but being in the country industry within Australia is very supportive. And here on the coast, like, yeah, I've heaps of, you know, muso friends, and, you know, we've got a chat actually. There's like a whole bunch of us. We just talk rubbish or whatever, and then, you know, if anyone's sick and needs a gig covered or sees something cool, we'll just put it on there, which is pretty fun. Or, you know, if there's anything to share, you know, it's a fun chat. But yeah, so that's really good too. So I don't think you'd probably get that too many places. But I kind of travel all around now, and I've got the best band as well. Like, we all just click so much, and it's just great.
I was going to ask that. So, what percentage of your gigs are with the band, and how much are solo with a guitar? Yeah,
so now probably more than ever, I'm doing way more band gigs. But I think that's kind of a reflection in this year, especially. Like, there's been a lot of growth this year compared to previous years where I was just doing like the more acoustic stuff. But now I'm doing heaps of band stuff. I got Sunset Sounds coming up, which is in Campbelltown on the 9th of November. So that's going to be really fun. Full band gig. I think Thirsty Merc and Kingswood are on it. A bunch of others. It's going to be
epic.
I did hear about this actually.
It's going to be so fun. And I'm doing just a bunch of stuff like that now. You know, the festivals, we're starting to get there, and it's really exciting because I love playing with a band. Like, it's just so much fun. It's so much more fun than being by yourself. You just get that connection, don't you? Especially on stage, it's just nice to have that support there too.
Yeah, that's something we hear a lot with, you know, solo artists who play with a band as well. It's like they just love playing with a band.
Oh, you'd love them. Like, they are just the funniest people. It's we got Bella on bass, Ben on drums, who's Bella's partner, and then Nathan on guitar, and it's just hilarious. Like, once all the, you know, the professional, let's get this done. Yeah. We hit the pub and we have a bit of fun. So it's good. It's good to have that balance, like, you know, people you really connect with outside of the work.
Yeah, and I can imagine that translates onto stage too. Like, if you feel like this person's a dick, you know, like when you got onto stage with them, it would probably be harder to find that chemistry. But being so comfortable and happy with one another must translate well onto the stage. Yeah,
well, that's actually a lot of the feedback we got at Denny, because it was one of the first times we had all performed together, because we've known each other for a little while, and like Ben put all my tracks together, so we were talking over the phone heaps, and then they picked me up from Melbourne Airport when I hadn't physically, you know, met them in person. It was like I'd known them, you know, forever. And I think that really translated in Denny as well.
It's funny because you hear about people who, like the old Top Gear guys are a classic example. They always say in interviews that they actually don't ever talk to each other outside of when they're doing the show. It's like that. It feels like a bit that they're having with us, because it's like their chemistry on the screen is just so good.
Mythbusters was the same.
Yeah,
the two main guys from Mythbusters.
Yeah, and it just feel like, you know, Eamon and I don't get along, but that's a different story. No, but like, if we didn't get along, this would be such a hard gig.
Oh, yeah. It would be. Yeah. Well, yeah, it would be. It would be such a shame, I think, and because, you know, this is meant to be fun as well, and it's so nice having more female energy in the band too, because Bella's the first female to be in the band, just because of the people who were, I guess, available were just always coincidentally males. So, like, you know, the day we had off, I was like, let's go shopping, and we bought these boots I'm wearing now together, actually, and I'm like, it's so great, like, you guys can stay here, we're going shopping. Yeah, it's nice to, you know, do that with your band members.
And you'd obviously project feminine energy into your music, of course. Yeah. So, like, yeah, I imagine it would be nice to have someone who might better understand that, help you deliver it on stage.
Yeah. No, it's great. They're such a great bunch. Yeah.
And on the Denny Ute Muster, can you explain? Like, I've never been. I've heard a lot. I've seen the photos. It sounds and looks wild and epic. So, could you please just give us your first-hand account of that?
Yeah. Where
Like,
do
what
I
does it look
start?
like? What is it just thousands of utes and just like the camp? Yeah.
Yeah. Like you kind of, well, the way we drove in, I don't really know what the front part was like because the artist like kind of entered from like the back kind of area and you had to like, scan your passes and get through into the backstage. And then that was kind of, the stage was in the middle and then you had the festival arena. Literally it's like a circle around the stage. So on the left there was like the rodeo and then you've got the day stage over there and then you've got like all the bars like scattered around and like it's kind of all just around, but like I'm talking over acres. Like this area is huge. And then around that circle, you've then all got all the campsites. So people are like camping in a circle around it. And then you got the area for the utes and oh gosh, you could just hear, like the revving and stuff the whole time. But it was wild. I think that's the only word for it is probably wild in the best possible way. It was like my first experience like that.
And is it too stereotypical of me to assume there's a lot of mullets?
Oh, no, not stereotypical.
Singlets and all that?
Oh yeah, it was as country can get. Like you put together country fans and ute fans, like wow, yeah.
I feel like it's just they're the parts of maybe much like country has been overlooked, but I feel like they're parts of our culture that are probably like that's a really cool thing that we have, and it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it's cool, it's different, it's very unique. We've got this ute muster thing that happens out sticks. So I feel like people need to just get around that more generally, but it's not, I don't know, not covered. It doesn't feel like as much of the Australian national psyche as perhaps a Splendour in the Grass or whatever it is, but I'm sure you have similar amounts of attendees that go there every year for that thing.
Yeah, there would have been, 25,000, I reckon, maybe more.
Yeah.
Could not be doing it justice, I'm not sure, but there was a lot of people, a lot of camping, a lot of everything. It was so good, so good. And I think it's growing as well, because as we said, country's, such a growing industry that people are jumping on it and it's so cool.
So tell us about your EP that you dropped a few months back. We were trying to line up a chat with you around that time and probably worked out a little bit better for our schedule anyway.
And we have another release as well.
Exactly.
So it's just perfectly floated.
We've got a lot to talk about, but I do want to talk about the EP that you dropped. You said it was end of an era of sorts for you. So what do you mean by that?
I think, I released it as a bit of a celebration, of where I had got to from, where I first started. We moved from England and I didn't know anyone and, my parents just helped me, they'd take me to gigs and all that and kind of just built it up by myself, really. Now I've got an amazing team. And I guess that was kind of acknowledging, all those steps you had to take to get to where I am now. And, there's so much, still left to do, but I kind of just wanted to acknowledge those first little steps, I guess, and release, a compilation of all the songs and singles I had done so far, because also, it was my later songs that then got onto the playlists and, started to take off. So the earlier songs, a lot of the fans I have now probably didn't hear those songs. So I thought it'd be nice to kind of reintroduce them in a bit of a different way to also mark that, I'm getting old, I got more life experience and I'm writing, differently now is what we were saying, that more conversational kind of vibe, a bit more mature, I think, just all those things. It kind of just marked an end.
So it's almost like a Taylor's version from the vault of sorts.
Yeah,
it's almost like
I guess you could say that. And yeah, it went really well and the response was great. I had a couple of health things, so unfortunately didn't get to really be marketed the way I had visioned, but it still went well, which was good.
Yeah, and so these songs you haven't just kind of re-released them as part of the album, or did you reimagine and recreate them in a way for the EP? Yeah,
so they weren't reimagined, they were kind of just put on from the releases, but I kind of branded it completely different. That was kind of the vibe. Same songs, but different image.
Interesting. And so for you, is that it's called The End of the Beginning. Is that a line in the sand? This was what I was doing and now the sound it's going to be different from this point on. There's going to be evolution from this point, but it's still paying homage to what you had already created and then showing it in new lights and new fans?
100%. And I think also when I was younger, you know, I lacked a lot of self-belief and self-confidence, and I went through some pretty serious illnesses as well. So it was kind of, you know, all those different things, you know, created a bit of doubt. And I think over the years I've really learnt to just, you know, self-belief and, you know, all those things you always hear about. But it's true. Like, I know it sounds stereotypical, but I think I kind of just got to a point where I was like, yeah, like I feel so ready now to just jump into it all and keep releasing in a bit of a different way. So
with the production then moving forward, you obviously work with a producer in Tasmania. How are you dictating a lot of the sound and saying, let's go more pop for this song? I envision this song to be more country. Or are you sort of going to your producer with a demo and saying, what do you think?
It's a bit of both, really. Like, we've worked together for a long time now. And so it was probably before COVID, I had one song and I was like, oh, you know, who should I get to produce? And someone mentioned, oh, you should, you know, reach out to Matt. And then it kind of just went from there, and we spent a lot of time, you know, talking, getting to know each other. Like, what am I visioning? What do I want? What do I want my product to be? And I think because we know each other so well now, it was kind of like we bounce ideas off. Like, we almost, like, he knows what vibe I want. Like, you know, I'll always send an email and be like, oh, you know, I'm thinking like a reference song, you know, maybe this country vibe, or maybe we pull it back and do this. Like, I'll always go in with ideas and we kind of meet in the middle.
Yeah, and I mean, you're kind of describing it there, but explain just the importance of that chemistry and working relationship, how important that is to have with a producer.
Well, yeah, definitely. You've got to, and you've also got to have a producer who believes in you and believes in your work and what you're saying, because, you know, when they're passionate about what you're doing, it shows as well. And yeah, Matt's just been kind of amazing with that. And, you know, I went in not really having released, like, you know, a country song yet. I was pretty naive to the process of how things work, and he was just took time to, you know, explain and really help get me on my feet to where I am. So I think that really, yeah, that's had a huge impact on me.
So you've been working with Matt for a while?
Yes. Yep. So when I came out from winning People's Choice and then started to get into the country scene, that's when we started working together.
Yeah, pretty much a very good chunk of your career.
Yeah,
then,
and same with my my publicist, Stuart Coop. So he does all my publishing now, or publicity now. And I started working with him at the same time. Like, all this team came together literally when the world stopped, which is so ironic.
Yeah, good timing.
Yeah.
But I guess then it had less of an impact that they were in Tasmania for your producer, right?
Oh,
because
cool.
everything was remote at that point. So it wouldn't have made any difference whether they were in Gosford or Tassie.
No, well, Matt actually was originally in Sydney. Oh. So I was originally going down there, and then he moved to Tasmania. Probably it was after like 3 songs we did together. So we already had that kind of working relationship.
Yeah, okay. And I guess you had to make a decision at that point whether you keep working with him or whether you find someone a bit more local.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's COVID taught us, you know, you don't need to see people. You can just do it all online. It sucks, but it works, hey?
Yeah.
It does work.
And it's been great for us. It's been awesome.
Yeah. And you mentioned you moved over from England.
Yes.
How old were you when you made the move?
I was, I think, about 5. So I was very young. All my family live over there, obviously, except my parents and one uncle and auntie. And yeah, everyone else is there. And Mum and Dad just decided it was
the
time.
cold's getting too much.
Yeah. Well, my dad came backpacking around Australia when he was 18. Got back home when he was like 22, met my mum, and then they had me, and then they were like, you know what, it's time. Like, Dad was nearly 30, and it was like, let's go. So
yeah, wow.
We moved here, and I don't really remember much of England. There was like a little like dodgy park down the road with I think either had no swings or no slide.
Either way, that's a sin.
Yeah, that is not a good park.
No,
ruining childhood
you got to have at
dreams.
least one of those things.
Exactly. So that's really all I remember from my English childhood.
Whereabouts in England are they from?
Plymouth.
Plymouth. Yeah.
Where
Interesting.
someone set sail from there, but I can't remember. Maybe it was the convicts.
Oh,
Don't know.
okay.
It was like it's like a port. Yeah.
Right. And I'm interested because we know it's definitely not exclusively American by any means anymore, but that's the origins of country are from Nashville or America. You have your origins in England and now you're in Australia. Do you feel like there's elements of those cultures colliding when it comes to your artistry and making your music? Do you feel like it's influenced you in any way, or do you think that it's very much been, identifiably one way?
Yeah, I honestly don't think I've ever thought about it, maybe subconsciously, but I think because I've grown up for so long here. Yeah, and because, country has become so big here. It's just, I don't know I think it's growing in England too. Like, I know a lot of Aussie artists seem to go over and there seems to be more tours and stuff happening over there. And I got my pop into country music, so he loves it over there now. And yeah, I think it's definitely growing everywhere. But no, to answer your question, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Interesting, yeah, because I feel like country, and correct me if I'm wrong, but country is very much landscape. It's a landscape influence. I feel like it's very visual. Yeah. In how, I don't know, for me it projects an image in my head, and I feel like it's influenced by landscape in a way. It's space.
Big, open, barren spaces, drier is sort of the image. And again, probably stereotypical and whatnot. But yeah, that's the image I get. So then to have, I guess, an English connection to that image, it doesn't. I see what you mean. But that's probably one other thing I remember of England is the countryside was beautiful. Oh, it's gorgeous.
It's amazing.
But very green, not
very green. So much rain. It's always raining. But yeah, I can see how you think that because that's kind of where the traditional country came from. That's what it was about.
Yeah, and perhaps it's a gross oversimplification on our part. I'm wondering if. Is a market, from what you know of England and your family, is a market for country in England as big as it is perhaps in Australia or America or elsewhere in the world, where the image that granted, we're not huge country heads, love and appreciate it, but we're not so we could be very ignorant again here. But I'm wondering if is there room for a market that size in England in the same way that there might be in Australia? I
don't reckon. UK is huge for pop. I don't know. From what I know, I can't really see it growing like what it's, like here. Like I can't see, the Denny Ute muster happening over in England.
That's literally what I had in my head. I think this country's
just very it gives you that, Aussie America kind of vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess that image is probably also country western films as well. It's probably adding to why I have that image in my head. But I think a lot of Australian culture broadly is influenced from America, but also from England as well. Our culture is a mix of both, sometimes for the good, sometimes for the bad, but it is a mix of both American and British culture combined.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So you've been back to England, obviously, since you were 5, I assume, to see family and
see you guys are gone now.
Or you just have a very good memory of English countrysides being very green from 4.5 years old.
Yeah, no, we've been back quite a few times. I went travelling last year and I went back and stayed there too, so that was cool. Yeah.
Have you done any gigging over there?
I did actually. I did a couple shows here and there around England, but my most memorable one, I was 15 and my nan and pop live it's like a bay, very country, very English country. Right. And down the road was a pub, really typical English pub. And my pop was like, "Oh, let's get you to play there." And that night we had about maybe probably 200 people come, probably half family, half, just whoever. And because I hadn't released anything yet, so I hadn't really built, much of a fan sort of thing. But it was probably one of the coolest things I've ever done. I had my uncle there I've not seen in 5 years and a cousin who I'd not seen in 10, and everyone was just singing along. It was mainly cover stuff, and it's probably it makes me feel very warm to think about it.
And all this is in Plymouth or the surrounds of. So geographically, whereabouts is Plymouth?
South, east.
Okay.
South or the east. Or the north. I'm not sure actually. I know it's not the west.
Well, because you said
we could rule the west out and go from there.
If you look on a map, it's to the left of London. It's
okay.
Down the little corner in the bottom.
Southwest of London, but not on the south coast, or is it on the south coast?
I didn't take geography. I'm going to stick to my music.
Well,
there.
you mentioned it was like a port town.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So my first thought was South Coast, but then I remembered like Liverpool and Manchester up in the north have their ports and harbours
it's down
as well.
from there.
Yeah, but it's down anyway. Because Liverpool, I went to Liverpool. Only had I think one night in Liverpool, but we went out and it was. Yeah, all the pubs and venues along the strip there was live music everywhere. So to be able to, play, Eamon's got them. Oh, very much South Coast.
South, not west, as you said, Ella.
Pretty much.
There we go.
Well, southwest of London.
Southwest of London, but that's
But
your west coast.
Oh, see, I was thinking of the pointy thing down the other side.
That one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really far away.
Right. So it's quite close to Brighton, then I imagine, because Brighton's.
Yes, I've been to Brighton.
Yeah, lovely place too, Brighton.
Yeah.
A lot of my sports reference, but knowledge of England comes from football, and Plymouth Argyle is the local football club in Plymouth. I imagine the family's a fan.
Oh yes, my godfather's really into all that, and I'm pretty sure he might coach them.
Okay,
He coaches one of them.
that's cool.
Yeah, I don't really know much about it. My family's a huge football family. My sister
Yeah.
plays for the Mariners and stuff, so it's like if you can't beat them, join them.
Okay, well, hang on. This is.
Okay, stop, let's go.
We're both, big Mariners and football fans. So she's playing in the.
Yeah, she's in the
A-League
academy.
Women. Oh, in the academy.
In the academy, so
Yeah,
because
cool.
she's 14, so she's in like the
Oh, very cool.
young one. She's a young Mariner.
Talented family.
Well, yeah, I guess, yeah.
We're going to call you talented, definitely. So talented family, by that measurement, that's unreal. If we can come back to the new single, Crossroads.
Yeah, we're really straight, yeah.
We do this a bit.
I love it.
We've come from Plymouth. We're back into Sonora Studios, Tuggerah.
Lovely.
Ella, you've got your new single, Crossroads. It's been out now several days by the time this one will be released. We don't have to ask you about how has the release been, because it hasn't happened at the time
I'll
of
be
speaking.
crying or jumping for joy, one of the two.
But it's obviously the first single since the end of the beginning. So it's the first single since you did draw that line in the sand, and the sound was going to evolve from this point. So what does this song represent to you?
Yeah, this song is probably the most personal, kind of honest one I've released. Towards kind of the start of the year, end of last year, I was really struggling actually being an independent artist in the industry, and I was just kind of thinking what's the point of it? Is it worth, sacrificing all this to chase, these dreams? Is it worth it? Or do I follow, that more normalized path that society kind of, expects? And that's why I wrote Crossroads, because I was just so conflicted with sort of where I saw my life going at the time. Because, as an artist, it's lots of ups and downs, and sometimes there's really quiet periods and you're like, oh no. And I guess I kind of was just in one of them. And I wanted to show that conflict kind of in the verses, and that's why I wanted to make it more conversational, because it did feel, if it is such a raw and honest song.
What if I get there? What if I don't? Can I live without regret of letting these years go?
I guess it almost symbolises too, like your internal conversations that you have with yourself when you're in those moments.
That's
To go
exactly.
all English teacher on it. To
Yeah, no,
analyse it.
That's exactly what I've said. Like in other interviews leading up to it, it's like it's an internal conflict, and you don't have to be in the music industry to relate to it. Anyone who's got to make a big decision in life, it can be scary.
And obviously you landed on the side of continuing, which is great, but was that a difficult, tumultuous decision to make, or was it a case of, I always knew I wanted this, but, you're always going to have the doubts that bounce around in your head?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. It was kind of in the middle, to be honest. Like the song, as you know, because we've listened to it now, is still, the question's still left open. And that was kind of a question I posed to, the fans and the fan base, which I think it was cool to just, hear other people's perspectives about things. And I think I've definitely come too far now. Like I'm not a quitter. I kind of like to finish what I start. Unfortunately,
Fortunately.
fortunately,
Yeah,
no,
that's good.
no. I think I've realised, like, especially festivals and all these cool things are picking up, and it's definitely very, very exciting. I think it's just important to kind of lose the expectation around it for yourself as well, and that's something I've been really working on.
Yeah, and it's really interesting given how we've led to this point in this conversation because, again, you are 20 years old. To us, that's very young. I don't think I had half the level of maturity that you're showing even in this conversation when I was your age. But obviously for you, you've been doing this, again, a long time. So how we would perceive a young artist versus how you actually are and how long your career has spanned, it makes sense that you're perhaps at that stage or still are or well, you're not, but you're grappling with that at that point.
Yeah, and that's probably like, a downside to starting so early. Like, it was all self-driven. My parents were like, yeah, do whatever you want, we'll support you. And I guess, doing it for so long, but those, like, half of that time I was very young. I didn't really, like, couldn't even drive. Like, I had to rely on my parents to get to gigs and all that. So a lot of that time I couldn't really, advance much in my career. So it feels like I've been doing it a long time, but the really real hard yards, it's only been a couple years. So, but it's definitely, I did take a little bit of time off at the start of the year, which didn't last long. So I've kind of realised, like, it is my life, and yeah, I don't really know what I would do with myself.
It's a part of you.
Yeah.
Brandon Duff was telling us a similar thing last week, and he's foraying now into comedy and other things as well, but he's like musical. Well, he came in to promote his music release, and then we were talking about his comedy, but his music. It's always going to be a part of me, no matter what. And I think, from what we see of artists and people with artistic tendencies, regardless, you can't really take that from you. You can't just turn that switch off. That's clearly something that's so deeply a part of you.
Yes. Definitely. Yeah, it's definitely not something you
and
can
it's
just...
half your lifetime. Effectively, like math is a little bit out, but more or less it's less. But pretty much half of your life you've been, performing and writing music. And so you said that your parents are supportive if you wanted to stop it.
Yeah.
So when you first got into it, was that you saying, I want to do music, or was that your parents pushing you in that direction a little bit? Because you said your dad was a music teacher, so obviously music's been a part of your life from a very young age.
It was none of my family musical. It was my dad's friend.
Oh, apologies.
Yes. So, like, my family, they're tone deaf. Like, they cannot sing. So there was no musical guidance there. They were kind of like, oh, this is different, but, like, you go for it. Like,
okay. So it's very much your choice to get into it in the first place.
Yeah. Totally. Like, they're absolutely amazing. Like, my dad sat at every single gig for hours and hours, being my little bodyguard when I was like 10, bless him. And yeah, so that support definitely helped shape, where I am now. And, mum was always helping me with, like, my styling, and she would do all my finances and stuff. Because I was only 10, I could only just learn maths, still only just learning maths. Still need help.
So we don't
But yeah, no, it's been a cool journey.
Yeah, and are you the oldest sibling?
I am, yeah. My sister's 14.
So just the two of you?
Just the two of us and Maggie, the dog. She's technically 77 now. So.
Shout outs to Maggie.
Yeah, shout outs to Maggie.
She's listening.
Of course.
100%. Yeah. It's interesting the point that you made about having kind of only been able to attack the career and industry in a certain way for a few years, despite the fact that you've been doing it for a while. So it's almost as like, some of the limitations that come with literally not having a license, or even I imagine being able to play in certain venues when you were under 18 would have been a hurdle and things like that. So did you notice a really significant difference once you really transitioned into adulthood?
Definitely.
How that worked for your music?
Yeah, definitely. I think, like, just, I guess it's broader, the places I can go and, what I can do now. Like, I'm going to Nashville next year.
Is that your first time?
Yeah, I've never been before. So it's, definitely not things like, could have done when I was younger. And also, a team, are less likely to build around you when you're so young and, you're just getting started and very mature,
Yeah, totally. And the Nashville trip, I imagine, must be huge.
Yes, I'm very excited.
Very exciting, yeah. Are you waiting till you're 21?
Well, technically, yeah, I guess. Mum was always like, oh, it'll be more fun when you're 21. I was like, okay. But I think just in the timeline, like I was looking at going this year, but I just didn't feel like we'd got enough momentum yet. So I just feel like the timeline has all really worked out. And coincidentally, I'm 21.
Happy days.
Happy days.
And is Nashville a leisure trip or is it a trip where you're going to be writing
Working.
or performing?
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
All of the above, yeah. Lots of co-writes booked in, lots of showcases and meetings and stuff. So let's see what happens.
It's like, I've not been to Nashville, but we've spoken to so many artists who have been, and so much of like the image I have in my head, maybe it won't live up to the image I have based on talking to so many people, but it feels like there's just constantly music, there's constantly like a real buzz and energy.
That's what I have in my head too. So I'm hoping it's that.
I've seen photos and it looks pretty much like that.
There's music all
And
the
the
time. Yeah, I'm
videos.
pretty sure it will live up to expectations. Why would people be going there if it wasn't, you know?
Exactly right. Exactly.
That's what I'm
right.
hoping for anyway.
And how do you go about organising a trip like that for yourself as someone who's never been there? And obviously, you have these Nashville connections because that's who plays the pedal steel. I had to refer back down to my laptop, the pedal steel and those kind of things. So there's some connection to Nashville, but is it difficult to arrange all of those things, co-writes, showcases, etc.?
Yeah, not really. Like the power of social media, I feel like, you know, I've made so many connections through literally Instagram, people who live over there over the past couple of years. So I know a whole bunch of people going over, and I know a few people that've moved over there permanently. So yeah, it's not been hard at all. It's just, I guess, another thing to add to the to-do list to just organise it and get it done.
As
good.
an independent musician as well, to be organising all of this, you don't have a label or management or anyone sort of going, oh, we have this connection with these people. It's you're sourcing all of this yourself.
Yeah, I guess I'm just lucky over the years. Like I've been able to just meet some really cool people and I guess just go from there. Like I've been given so many contacts over there. So I'm think I'm gonna be all right.
And this is a very small sample size, but of the 2 country musicians we've interviewed, you and Chelsea Berman, am I forgetting another country artist?
I'm thinking we've had over the years, much in the same way we have had with you, Ella, this conversation, we've had a lot of back and forth messages playing when we're on the radio, that kind of stuff, but I'm not sure if we've actually interviewed. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
so
as
the
you
bottom
were.
is a very small sample size, you and Chelsea Berman, but you're both independent musicians, you're both in that country pop realm. Is that, I'm trying to think how I want to phrase the question. Is it, there's a lack of opportunity with, I guess, mid-size labels or managements like there would be for pop and indie and the more, I guess, common, in quotation mark, genres that you hear a lot more of? Is there just no opportunity, you're independent until you're picked up by the bigger country labels? Or is, like, what do you put that down to?
There's definitely an in-between.
Okay.
But things are very different now to what they were, you know, when you were releasing records and people actually had money, you know, like money was a thing. And
You don't have much disposable income in this economy? That's weird.
Oh, what? No. You know, when you were selling records for like, you know, $20 and keeping 15 of it like per record. Whereas now, you know, it's Spotify and it's streaming. So there's not as much money within the industry unless you're a top dog, you know? So I guess, you know, people aren't as likely to take those chances on up and comers because, you know, they've got to put food on the table too. Like I get that. And there definitely are. I actually think the opposite. I think there's lots of opportunities, but you've got to establish yourself and you've got to get yourself to a certain point before people are ready to take that chance on you because it's money, isn't it? You know, it is hard being an independent artist, but I do enjoy it. And I guess you've just got that drive to keep working until someone's going to go, you know, let's do it. Or, you know, lots of people are independent. You look at like, pretty sure, I may be mistaken, but Lime Cordial, there's a couple others. You look at like, there's a whole bunch that are independent. It's like thing to do.
It's
you know?
certainly doable.
Yeah, it's just so much extra work. It kills me sometimes, but it can be full on.
Independent artists love it too. Like, I mean, it's always a trade-off, I suppose, but then you have that full control over your project and you are accountable to yourself and all of those things that are really good. And I think, independent artists by default, no shade, would have to be the most hardworking. Because you have to do everything. Like, there's not...
You have to form all the connections.
It's all off your own back.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. But I think, everyone's got to be an independent artist before they're on a label. So everyone has done it to, I guess, people different extent to others. But, yeah, I guess I've not had any other experience other than being an independent artist. Like, I've got an awesome team. And if I didn't have the team I have, I wouldn't be able to do this, But it'd be great to get picked up by a label as well. I also would not be turning that one down.
Next question. Are you actively chasing it, or are you just working away and grinding and forming connections and trusting, I guess, the process that...
Yeah, I've had there's been lots of conversation happening at the moment, which is exciting. A lot going on in that field, so I guess we'll just leave that there and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, who knows? We'll see what happens.
Put it out to the atmosphere and, that's exciting.
Fantastic. Well, there's so much to look forward to by the sounds of it. You've got a Nashville trip coming up. The track Crossroads has been released by now, but that's out there. The line in the sand has been drawn, and there's conversations of which we will speak no more that are occurring in the background. Ella Powell, what else, if you can fit anything more into the next, but in terms of the forecast we've only got a couple more months left in this year. Are there tours planned, more releases, etc., that we can expect from you?
Yeah, so Crossroads is my last release for the year. And because, when it gets closer to Christmas, people are playing Mariah Carey and stuff, which fair enough, I do the exact same thing. So next year will be a whole bunch of new releases. I got Sunset Sounds and some other cool festivals. And then I'm going to Thailand. So that's December.
Holiday?
Yeah. I'm actually, having a break.
Epic.
Yeah. So then I'll be ready to hit Tamworth and a bunch of other things, bunch of other releases, some other festivals, Nashville. It will kind of all be hit the ground running next year.
And where can people connect with you if they would like to find out more about you, find your music, etc.? We will, of course, have this linked in the show notes for anyone listening. They can go click a link, but from Ella herself.
Yes, so my website's ellapowell.com, Powell being Powell. You should see some of the pronunciations and spelling.
Do people get it wrong?
All the time. Oh, I've been called some things.
Because I would have thought Powell is a relatively common name.
Apparently, I don't know.
Powell, is that what you get?
Oh, I get power, pal, well.
Just well.
Yeah, just all of it.
Yeah, the PO is silent.
Yeah.
Correct.
So you can find me on there, and then Instagram, Ella Powell Music, Facebook, TikTok, Ella Powell, Spotify, Apple Music. Anyway, you can find your music. And I've just dropped a whole bunch of merch as well, which is available online via my website.
And this will already be out. This is probably not relevant to our listeners, but I saw that if you pre-save, you're going to give away merch to someone.
Yeah.
Like a giveaway winner.
Yeah, got a giveaway merch pack, which has had a really, really good response. So that's cool. I just had my new T-shirts and stuff come in. So
can you, with the pre-save thing, like a lot of artists are pushing it.
Yeah.
What is the benefit to an artist?
So it shows these platforms that you're getting interest before the release. So then they're more than likely to go, okay, well, because you're generating all this interest, we'll put you on this playlist or we'll feature you here or there. That's really what it's about. It's all about just the streaming platforms. And
that makes so much sense because we obviously ticket pre-sales, it's similar in a financial thing for them, but obviously they need to know that there's enough interest around this festival or event that we can actually afford to pay the vendors.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what I did with my merch as well. You put the pre-sale or the feelers out there before. So then you kind of get an idea. It's all just, it's all
you don't
just,
have 50,000 shirts sitting in a warehouse going, oh God, I've oversupplied here.
Yeah, literally.
And buy the merch, people. Yeah. That's a great way to support an independent artist is to buy the merch they produce.
It's definitely, I think, overlooked sometimes, and it's probably the biggest way because, the funds are directly going back to you and it goes directly back into your music, and for an independent artist, that's just gold. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Ella Powell, thank you so much for coming in and chatting. It's been so good to learn your story and makes us very excited to see what's coming up. It looks like you have a very bright 12 months and beyond ahead.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. It's lovely to finally get to sit down and chat with you guys about all different things. It's been a fun conversation, so thank you.
This podcast, the best podcast you've ever listened to, which I heard you just say after you finished the podcast, but it's not over yet because you're hearing me say this now, but this podcast was recorded at Sonora Studios and produced by Cameron Smith. And for everything Homebrewed, find it at www.homebrewed.au. Bye.